Whenever Edith Piaf sang one of her greatest signature tunes, Je ne regrette rien, it never failed to resonate with an audience, because everyone knew that with the life she had led, most lesser mortals would have regretted just about everything. Maurice Chevalier was one of a number of celebrities who witnessed her first performance at a nightclub in 1935. That night was her ticket out of poverty. Piaf was born Edith Gassion in December 1915 in the Belleville area of Paris. Her childhood was one long round of neglect, misfortune, and illness, and she was abandoned by both her parents. After her memorable nightclub debut, the diminutive performer soon became a star. She attracted influential friends, including Marlene Dietrich, who was the maid of honor at a wedding to singer Jacques Brel in 1952. As her fame and influence grew throughout the 1940s, she took on a string of protégés and also began writing lyrics and collaborating with the composers on many of her songs. She penned one of her most famous hits, the torch song La Vie en Rose. Written in 1945, it received a belated Grammy Hall of Fame award in 1998. In 1947, Piaf was France's biggest star and known affectionately as the Little Sparrow. She attempted to break into America, but it was a tough nut to crack. A glowing New York review marked the turning of the tide, and she stayed for over 5 months, wowing the crowds at the Café Versailles. While there, she met the love of her life, the married boxer Marcel Cerdan, who died in a plane crash in 1949. Piaf was inconsolable and ravaged by guilt, as he'd been on his way to visit her in Paris, and she had persuaded him to come by air instead of sea. Her despair led her towards drug and alcohol addictions that only increased a couple of years later when she was involved in serious car accidents. In one of them, while traveling with Charles Aznavour, she suffered a broken arm and 2 broken ribs, and the morphine prescribed by her doctor only added to her dependency problems. The marriage to Jacques Brel had lasted for 4 years, and she married for a second time exactly 1 year and 1 day before her death, this time to Theo Sarapo, a hairdresser 20 years her junior. In between, though, there were numerous other affairs and liaisons, and even with the roller coaster that was her personal life and her increasingly debilitating health problems, her career during the 1950s soared. Her international tours were hugely acclaimed, and on home turf she was venerated as a national icon. In early 1960, she collapsed while performing at New York's Waldorf Astoria, vomiting blood on stage, and was rushed to hospital for emergency surgery. Defiantly, she continued the tour, only to collapse again in Stockholm before being sent back to Paris for further surgery. She actually died at Place Cassier on the French Riviera, but it is believed that Theo Sarapo secretly drove her body back to Paris so that everyone would believe she breathed her last in her beloved hometown. Her lifestyle precluded a mass, yet her funeral procession was attended by tens of thousands of mourners, and 40,000 people turned up at the ceremony at Père Lachaise Cemetery, where she is buried alongside other greats of the arts like Sarah Bernhardt, Oscar Wilde, and Marcel Proust. Her protégé and good friend Charles Aznavour recalled that her funeral was the only time since World War II that Parisian traffic came to a complete and utter standstill. And thanks to the magic of recordings, the Little Sparrow's voice will never be forgotten.